I've been conversing with other hunters my entire life, and as a group, your average hunter and angler can out bullshit almost any demographic, except, of course, probably most politicians. The amount of lies, exaggerations, assumptions, and fallacies that some of your average hunters spew forth out of their mouth is kind of impossible to quantify, but it's the myths that turn into so called common knowledge that are the hardest for me to process. When I get the time to scroll through the comment section of some of my videos, I notice many cliche kind of hunting sayings that everybody seems to regurgitate on the internet. I decided to scroll through the comments on some of my videos and pick out common hunting sayings that are repeated frequently by my viewers, by my subscribers. Then I'll fact check these hunting sayings and decide whether it's bullshit or truth. For those of you who love my bullshit button, you're going to love this video. Our first hunting saying is, with modern powders, we can make better loads today than we could in the past. I wish I had a nickel for every time this was written on my channel. In fact, it might be one of your favorite sayings when you comment on my videos. But the truth of that saying depends on what you consider to be modern powders. If you're talking about smokeless powder in general, smokeless gunpowder, then yeah, that was a major improvement over the old black powder. But over the last 100 years, smokeless gunpowder hasn't really changed that much. We're basically using the same stuff that our grandfathers used. The only real advancement in smokeless powder was when ADI in Australia invented temperature stable powders in the 1990s, which of course became our Hodgdon extreme powders that we use today. So for 30 years or more, there's really been no advancements in smokeless powder. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble here, but loads today are not better than loads that shooters were making in the 1970s. Competition shooters were shooting groups just as small then as they are right now. But temperature stable powders made extreme long distance shooting easier. The next common hunting saying is, with modern bullet technology, bullets perform better today. This one is also a matter of perspective in time. People say that the late great Jack O'Connor was limited to using crappy hunting bullets, but those same folks acknowledge that the Nosler Partition is one of the greatest hunting bullets ever made. Well, the Nosler Partition was being made in the 1940s, and that's exactly what Jack O'Connor used. So he wasn't limited to bad bullets in his days. Bonded and monometal bullets were being manufactured and sold in the 1980s. Think about that. So that isn't really new bullet technology either. The only place where bullets have changed is with their physical design. Higher BC bullets are being manufactured today, which are superior for long range shooting. Also, we moved beyond generation 1 monometal bullets and, are seeing generation 2 and generation 3 monometal bullets with carefully controlled fragmentation. So fantastic hunting bullets have been around for 80 years, and bullet technology hasn't really changed in 40 years. What has changed is bullet design in order to meet the needs of extreme long distance shooters and to bring better non-lead ammunition options to the market. And our next hunting saying is one that I've actually found myself using time to time. Camo fools hunters, not deer. Generally speaking, this is a pretty true saying. My personal anecdotal experience is that camo gives me no advantages while I'm rifle hunting for deer, and I really stopped wearing it for the most part. We tend to attribute human traits to animals, and hunters desperately want to believe that camo just tricks a deer's eyes like it does with their own eyes. But in reality, deer have relatively poor daylight vision compared to humans. The only thing camo can do for you is kind of break up your outline, which can make it effective at really close distances, like what you'd encounter during most archery hunting. But since deer don't see fine details well and they have really poor depth perception, camo really won't matter at 100 yards or more, where most people are hunting deer with a rifle. When you see those guys just decked out in Kuyu or Sitka camo, taking, 300-400 yard shots at deer, the deer can't see them no matter what the hell they're wearing. And the guys sitting in deer blinds, overlooking a field with bait in it, don't need camo at all, but they always seem to be decked out in the most expensive camo in the world. But in those instances, camo does fool hunters rather than fooling the deer. And our next saying is that button rifled barrels aren't accurate. Well, this one is definitely getting the bullshit button. Bullshit! 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 Most world-class competitive shooters out there do use cut rifled barrels because they do have a slight edge in consistency and less stress is induced into the barrel steel during the rifling process. But this doesn't mean that button rifled barrels lack accuracy or precision. Button rifled barrels get a bad rap because most factory production rifle barrels are made this way, mainly because it's a fast and cheap way to mass produce barrels, and button rifling favors economy of scale. But when you move up to a custom button rifled barrel, many of them will run with the best cut rifled barrels. I have a couple of custom button rifled barrels that shoot in the teens. Most of you out there will never be able to tell the difference between a benchmark barrel and a Bartlein barrel. So properly stress relieved custom rifled barrels can be very precise. And our next hunting saying is, all hunting scopes should be first focal plane. Phew. This was never really a thing in the hunting world until millennial hunters decided that they wanted to be super snipers instead of hunters. And this gets the bullshit button. Bullshit! 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 This trend started out west when a lot of the older hunters moved on and actual hunting skills were no longer passed down to the next generation. Guys would spot animals at long distances with modern optics and rangefinders and shoot them from where they spotted them rather than putting on a stock and physically stalking the animal. It's a completely unethical and lazy way to hunt, and it reflects on the general loss of ethics that we have in modern society. To make these long shots on animals, though, first focal plane scopes are probably a superior tool for the job. But for ethical hunting distances, especially when an opportunity for a close shot arises, first focal plane scopes have a tiny, almost unreadable reticle, and a quick snapshot is very difficult with a first focal plane scope. Often, especially if you're picking out a darker target inside some vegetation, even at close range, first focal plane reticles are just very hard to find. So for hunting inside of, 400 yards or at your rifle's maximum point blank range, a second focal plane scope is a much better tool for the job. Our next hunting saying is always use high SD and BC hunting bullets. And boy, I've sure covered this topic a lot. This is a favorite phrase of mall ninjas and FUDs alike, but it's BS. Bullshit! 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 Watch my video titled Hunting Bullet Hype, where I outline why ballistic coefficient isn't important for a hunting bullet at ethical distances. I have another video titled Hunting Bullet Penetration, where I explain why sectional density numbers don't really matter for a hunting bullet. And the next saying that my viewers always lay down in the comment section of my videos is, you don't need to lap high quality scope rings. Sorry, this is complete bullshit. Bullshit! 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 I did a video titled, Do I Need to Lap My Scope Rings? And in that video, I clearly demonstrated that all high quality two-piece scope rings should be lapped. You know, I showed how Night Force, Badger Ordnance, Mountain Tech, and other high dollar two-piece ring sets do not align and need lapping. You know, and the obvious problem here is that you're going to have microscopic minor variances in the scope rings themselves. Then you're going to have the same tiny variances in the scope base or bases. Then you're going to have tiny variances in the receiver itself. So between all of those items, it's called tolerance stacking. You're stacking all these tolerances. And with two-piece rings, it's extremely rare. I would say maybe 1 out of 100 sets where the rings actually align. Even a lot of one-piece scope ring sets that go on like a pick rail, I hate to say it, except for a few very high-quality ones, most of those don't align either. So I'm sorry. This myth has just been busted by me too many times to count. And the next saying that I see repeated on my channel all the time is that recoil is all in your head. Well, I think that this is a very subjective statement. You know, when I shoot my 505 Gibbs or my buddy's 460 Weatherby Magnum, the recoil is not all in my head. Trust me, it exists and there's a lot of it. But when I hear grown men complain about their 30-06 being unshootable because of recoil, they definitely have trouble physically and mentally processing levels of recoil. I did a great video last year titled Managing Recoil, where I showed hunters how to use proper technique to tame even the heaviest kickers. Anytime I watch a video of people shooting who complain about recoil, I always find numerous problems with their technique and form. But recoil sensitivity can also be purely a mental hurdle, which kind of makes this saying, partially true. When you've been hurt by recoil before, your mind is going to subconsciously fear that rifle, and this fear will cause you to kind of ride your rifle loosely, which results in a bruised shoulder, or drift away from the stock, which results in cheek slap. And the next common hunting saying that I see in the comment section of my videos is 12 gauge is more powerful than 20 gauge. People have a bad habit of stating this on my channel, and I usually try to correct them. So I'm giving this the BS button.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit!
12 gauge and 20 gauge have the same exact size and weight pellets at the same exact velocity. Therefore, every pellet hits the bird or the target with the same exact level of kinetic energy. Basically, they possess the same power. But the 12 gauge holds more pellets in its payload than the 20 gauge, which, depending on the choke that you're using, can put more pellets into a given pattern. In this respect, the 12 gauge can be capable of more damage, but you can choke a 20 gauge to almost match it, in my experience. And when you're shooting the 20 gauge, you can enjoy a lighter, slimmer profile gun with less recoil as well. And the next common hunting saying that's regurgitated a lot on my channel is a larger scope tube allows more light in. Phew. I really wish my viewers would stop saying this.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit!
No, a larger scope diameter scope tube does not allow or gather more light. This doesn't happen at all. Light transmission is a ratio of objective lens size compared to the magnification on the scope. Lens quality will also help in this regard some. The more magnification that you use, the more objective size you need to achieve the proper exit pupil for light. And that's how that works. It has nothing to do with scope tube diameter. And the next common saying seen on my channel is that you should use controlled round feed rifles for dangerous game. Well, this is really kind of only a debate in the minds of many Americans while they sit on the toilet arguing with people on the internet. If you talk to real, genuine African professional hunters who specialize in hunting free-range dangerous game, 95% of them will tell you to use a controlled round feed rifle if you use a bolt action rifle on dangerous game. They say this because they honestly routinely see push feed rifles fail either due to poor design, like a Remington 700, or from double feeds, or from weak extractors not working with dirty ammo or dirty chambers. You know, you don't need a controlled round feed rifle to hunt dangerous game with a bolt gun. It's not necessary. You're not going to go home with no animal, but you really should use one, in my opinion, because it greatly minimizes the probability of failure in the field. Americans are the only people who complain about spending an extra $300 on a gun that they plan to take on a $27,000 hunting trip. It really makes no sense. The same thing goes for scopes. Most famous Africa hunting experts, like Kevin Robertson, have written volumes on how many times they've seen push feed actions go down in the field, especially in life-threatening situations. So in the end, it's your choice, though. And another common saying that viewers post on my comment section of my videos is double rifles are better than bolt guns for dangerous game hunting. Well, I'm sorry, but this is definitely getting the BS button.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit!
And I'm going to answer this question from the perspective of a client hunter rather than the professional hunter in Africa. Although many prominent, famous, well-regarded PHs operating in Africa today use a bolt-action rifle to back up their clients on dangerous game. Guys like Miles McCollum, Terry Labatt, Dalton and York, and countless others, that slipped my mind at this time. But they use bolt-action rifles in the field. And I'll concede double rifles are great stopping rifles for professional hunters to use to back up their clients. And, they might be the best tool for the job in that regard. I don't know. I'm not a professional hunter. Double rifles are also very nostalgic and just have a really high coolness factor, which makes them an attractive option for visiting hunter clients. But don't fool yourself. Double rifles are inferior to bolt action rifles when it comes to client use. A scoped bolt gun will literally double your shot opportunities on dangerous game, especially when you have to shoot through tiny little holes or pockets in vegetation, especially in the Jess. Most wounded dangerous game animal that I see out there result from bad shots with a double. The scope bolt gun will also be chambered to shoot cartridges that can double for plains game as well as dangerous game. And most people who take doubles to Africa also take a scope bolt gun with them, and they usually end up taking 2 rifles instead of 1. Another hunting saying that's been repeated numerous times on my channel is pronghorn have eyes like binoculars. My viewers said this several times, and it is absolutely correct. Deer and elk have poor daytime eyesight, but the pronghorn is a totally different type of animal. A pronghorn's closest living relative is a giraffe, not a deer. Pronghorn have 300-degree vision with 10 times the sharpness of the human eye. They don't see colors well, but they can spot movement 4 miles away. So pronghorn do indeed have eyes like binoculars. And our next hunting saying is something that's posted by my viewers virtually every time I post any optics related video. And that's that bigger objective lenses allow more light. Bigger objective lenses do allow more light into the scope, but can your eyes even take advantage of that? That's the question you need to ask. Most hunters have no idea what their scope's exit pupil is and what the entrance pupil of their eye is. Exit pupil is a ratio of objective lens diameter and the magnification of your scope. Look at this scope versus this scope right here. This small scope with a 24 millimeter objective is going to have a much brighter image than this big scope will. And, this has an exit pupil of 6 millimeters, and this has an exit pupil of 2.7 millimeters. At dawn and dusk, your average male hunter in his 40s is going to have an entrance pupil of around 5 millimeters. Guys over 55 years old will probably have an entrance pupil of 4 millimeters at dawn and dusk. And here's the cold hard fact for everybody. Any scope with an exit pupil above 5 millimeters is a complete waste for most hunters out there. Many people are hunting with scopes that are just unnecessarily big and expensive because they mistakenly believe that bigger is better. But this just isn't true because your eyes can only use so much light.